Welcome back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another installment of our awesome Before the Snap series. And we are super excited for our guest this week. If you've never tuned into Before the Snap before and you're wondering, well, what kind of program is this? Well, first off, thank you so much for tuning in. We're super excited to have you here today. But you're going to learn a little bit about what it takes to have a career in and around the NFL. And, you've probably heard all these different jobs before about, all the different job titles, whether it be in a class or internships. But today we're just going to dive into one, and we're going to learn about a pretty new and unique career that is in sports, and one that I believe is very, very important for every organization to have. And if you've tuned in with us before, obviously you know you're in store for another excellent program. As always, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, where it's our mission to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. Those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made our 382 Hall of Famers best football players and minds of all time, but also made them great men, great people off the field. It makes all of us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame great employees and can make you great students as well. And I'm super excited for you to see how important those values are, not only to us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but to everybody all around the country. Before we get started, some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of our students and educators, professors, anybody that shared this program with their students today, or watching us live, or watching us 6 months down the road, or maybe you just found us in a YouTube wormhole. We appreciate you tuning in and learning a little bit about what it takes to have a career in and around the game of football. Secondly, we have to thank our students. Students, without you, this program is just us learning, and now we're very excited to learn about this career today. But this program is here for you to start your networking journey, which you might have already begun, or maybe you're just starting out to learn what it takes to have a job in and around sports. We're here for you. This program is here for you to connect with somebody who's currently working in the game of sports, in the field, around the game of football. And we thought, what better opportunity than for you to tune in today and learn from one of the best. So if you're watching us today, first and foremost, go ahead and put your name and your school in the live chat there on YouTube. We want to see how many great colleges and universities we have tuned in today. And if you have a question during the program, go ahead and put it in there as well. The earlier you get your questions submitted, the more likely we're going to be able to ask it during the program. I know we got some submitted ahead of time, which I'm excited to hear all about today. But if you do have a question that you think of during the program, go ahead and put it there in the live chat. And we'll be reminding you throughout the program to do that as well. So without further ado, my last and most important thank you goes to our special guest today, Ms. Jasmine Park, who has served over 20 years as a human resources professional in the greater Indianapolis area and currently holds the role of head human resources for the Indianapolis Colts. She's the first person designated to oversee the organization's front office people, culture, and inclusion strategy for the football club, while leading the team's comprehensive human resource function in alignment with the advancement of the organization's mission and core values. Jasmine is committed to attracting, retaining, advancing, and supporting a broadly diverse workforce of the highest level of excellence that thrives on diverse, equitable, and inclusive workspace culture. All of which sounds very, very cool, and I cannot wait to hear more about it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jasmine Park to Before the Snap. Jasmine, welcome.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate that warm welcome. I appreciate all the work that the Hall of Fame Before the Snap program is about. And for those of you that are watching this, especially those of you that are live and have questions, I would love for this session to be interactive. If time were no object and we had infinite amounts of it, I would want to have one-on-one conversations with each and every one of you, because aspiring to live out your dreams and working in the sports and entertainment industry, I know is one that is deeply rooted in the passion and the purpose for a lot of you, and hope that this program helps you get a little bit closer to that, realizing your goal. And I hope I can give you some words of wisdom today that you can take away with you and action on. So thanks, Jake, and everybody else behind the scenes for making this happen.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. For those of you that don't know, there's a pretty big event going on in Indianapolis right now, the NFL Combine taking place as we speak. So I'm sure we'll get into that later. But Jasmine, we always start out with the program is just the 10,000-foot view of what you do on a day-to-day basis. I know we kind of touch on some stuff there in your bio, but can you give us that 10,000-foot view on what the day-to-day life looks for you with your job with the Colts?
Sure. So, as a head of HR for the Indianapolis Colts, the business of football is just like any other business. And so, human resources is a big part of what we call back office support for the front office. And in my role, I do everything from hire to retire an employee. Um, and a huge part of working for an NFL football team, obviously, is there's positions that are on the field. So that actually is a part of our employee population that's handled most directly by our GM and the coaching staff and the ownership. And they have a very heavy hand in all of those very important roles. As an head of HR for the front office, most of my day to day is centered around hiring, developing, and hopefully retiring individuals that are looking for jobs that are more accessible. Everybody that's actually tuning in. We have a position for any degree that you might have. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports or sports adjacent. So I have a business degree and I have a career in human resources. And so my degree and my skill set translates in and outside of football and in and outside of sports. But this is the industry that speaks to my heart and is where my passion is. And so the best part of my day is being able to actually extend an offer to someone to come work for us. So in a nutshell, it is a huge part of what I do is finding the right person that's the perfect fit for an opening in a position that we might have available. And as a very seasonal business, we do offer plenty of opportunity, although it might not seem that way because we have entry-level positions that are very seasonal in nature, where you can kind of get your foot in the door, whether it be over the summer if you're undergrad or postgraduate roles, to try to start honing your skills that translate, again, across all industries, but specifically in the sports industry.
I think you touched on something super unique. Obviously, myself, Jack, who we'll meet here in a second, and all of our team here at the Hall of Fame, we go through a internship process every year, every spring and early winter or late winter, and where we're bringing these summer internship positions on. And one of the things we do at the Hall of Fame in our department is we ask you some basic football questions, and some people it scares, some people ace them, but it's just for us to kind of give a good baseline of what your football knowledge is. Now, you brought up the thing I'm getting to is that you don't have to ace it. To work here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you don't have to be a football history buff because we're a museum, and I think that's something that's super important for you because you look at your journey. It's not like this is your. I believe this is was your first job in sports. So as somebody who, did not start their career in sports and got into the industry, can you kind of talk about, how important it was for you to familiarize yourself with the Colts coming into that interview process? And for the students who want to work in sports today, like talk about, um, you don't have to be an expert on the game of football to work for a team that you love or a sport that you love. So talk about kind of that misguided conception of you have to be an expert in football to work in football.
Yeah, I love this question and it's so important. And it's so important because it's so competitive and it's so difficult to get that dream job. And people tend to think of it more of an obstacle than it actually is because especially if you're a student and you're watching this, you got to start somewhere, right? And getting any kind of experience at all ideally in any sport is a great place to start, but you don't necessarily even have to start within sports and or entertainment to be able to start building your skill set and the broad foundation of how you can positively impact a sports organization. Um, Unless your job actually touches the football, if you're a coach, you're a player, your skills have to be all about the game, right? And then there are roles that are very heavily influenced by the game. So if your ultimate desire and end goal is to be a scout, you probably need to know something about the game. But we're a business like any other business. So if you want to work in IT, if you want to work in finance, and if you want to work in sales, there are core key skills that it almost doesn't matter what industry you're in. You got to hone in on doing that job well. And then the industry is an added layer of, okay, now that I know what it takes to do this job, I have all the qualifications, I have all the experience, and knocking it out of the park in all the areas, to be able to then elevate yourself and distinguish yourself from other people that are maybe vying for that same promotion or the same job as you are. That's when you throw in the industry specific knowledge in whatever vertical that you're trying to climb up the ladder, corporate ladder, if you will. Is you don't ever want to be general and generic in how you apply your skills. And to set yourself apart, you do ultimately have to know your audience, the industry, for how to make sure that you are applying what you know best. But at the baseline of it, if you're in social media or digital marketing, you have to actually know the basics before you can apply it well in whatever industry that you work in. So when it's discouraging for you as somebody who maybe are still trying to break into the sports and entertainment industry, and you don't seem like you're having much success, it's not a fail to take a job somewhere else, for any other corporation or any other company, where you can start learning, and honing on your professional skills, because those skills will translate, and doing what you do well. And doing what you do well where you are, you start building relationships. You have people vouching for you. You find mentors that will help you grow in not even your hard skills and your technical skills, but also advance you in in my opinion, much harder area of being able to be a leader, being able to have influence, and being a great teammate. Those are all skills that you can't learn from a textbook, and you can only learn through experience. You can't fast track wisdom, right? So any kind of experience at all is going to set you up for success when the opportunity comes knocking. So I always try to encourage, especially younger folks trying to make it into their ultimate desired profession in sports, is don't give up. Keep your eye on the prize. If your dream job is to work for a sports team or just any other sports related role, and it'll come at some point in time, but in the meantime, don't phone it in. Excel where you are.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to put it. At its basis, you don't need to be an expert, but you have to be an expert at that job.
Mhm.
Like you said, I love that because we bring that up a lot when we talk here at the Hall of Fame is, we're just like any other business. We have all the same departments except, it's football focused instead of a bank or a finance company. Like we just love football here. So I love that you brought that up as well. So I could ask questions all day. That's not why we're here. We're here for some of our students' questions. So I'm gonna throw it to a person's debut on Before the Snap. I'm pleased to welcome Jack Prusher here as the newest member of our Youth Education and Leadership Department. So just like you, Jasmine, Jack is making his debut here on Before the Snap. So without any further ado, Jack, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you for the introduction, Jake. Jasmine, thank you as well for joining us on this great program, and thank you to the schools as well for being a part of it. We do have a question though from one of our students at the schools. His name's Zach, and he wants to ask, what has been your biggest lesson that you've learned during your time, whether it was in your career before sports and now your career in sports?
I love this question. And there's so many things because life's a journey and it's all about being the best version of yourself. And for me, it is the willingness to not be afraid to fail, and put yourself out there. Um, Being able to embrace feeling uncomfortable, and not being an expert, and learning as you go. We never want to proactively, make mistakes or not be the smartest person in the room. But asking questions and leveraging others for help is actually a strength. Knowing that you have a role and you are part of a team, but in order to be the better teammate or the best teammate, sometimes you have to raise your hand and go, hey, I don't know. Or, hey, can I get help in X, Y, or Z? And that feels vulnerable sometimes. And because you don't want to ever feel like you're not putting your best self forward. And while you can do all the homework in the world, sometimes you're put in a situation where you fall short of it. And I have come to a point in my life where it still doesn't feel great when I don't hit the mark, when I don't win the game, or I don't meet my own expectations, much less others. But I always take so-called failures, if you will, and try to grasp a kernel of truth and how I can make myself a little bit better version of myself. And I don't necessarily set out, like a goal of never making that mistake again, even though that's ideal. But I do definitely try to continue to grow as the best version of myself in whatever aspect, in whatever role, whether it be as a sister or a mother or an HR professional or a teammate with the Colts organization. In whatever role that I have responsibilities in, I definitely try to take the things that I don't quite get right and aspire to do it better the next time based on the lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Jasmine. I think, as you said, being afraid to fail is key. I mean, that's sometimes the only way to learn is from your failures. And then obviously, once you take those failures and learn how to do it, you become a better person, a better worker, as you said, a better family member. That's vital. All right, Jake, that's all I got here. More schools. If you have any questions, please send them in and we'll get you up asking Jasmine questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. Great debut. I'm gonna give that an A plus for you here today. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today.
Well done, Jared.
Jasmine, I want to talk about, we haven't asked this question in a while, and I could, because you did reference it a little at the beginning. You talked about how you're considered back of house. You're considered the business side of the sports organization, but I think it's a really unique relationship between the business side and the quote unquote football side. So my question is, you see the overall theme, what the Colts football team believes in, those mantras, those quotes. Does that bleed over to the non football side, the business side? And are those same values that the football team believes in when they're running out on the field every Sunday? Does that translate to the business side of the organization? Do you have meetings with the head coach and the football side to say, hey, this is what we're believing in this year, and this is how we're going to be the best team on the field? Does that translate to your side, the quote unquote back of house?
That's a good question. And I can only speak for this club because I don't know the environment of the other clubs. But what I can tell you is we are one team, and there is what I call football culture, and then there's an organizational culture, and there is a tremendous amount of overlap, and they're similar but not exactly the same. So our coach has certain competencies and key priorities that he wants to make sure that gets done accomplished every year, obviously with championships in mind. And those of us in support role functions have similar but not the same core values. What I will say is probably I can speak to every sports team is we all abide by one mission, and we all aspire to win championships. So it's actually very clear to everybody walking in the door to sign up to be a part of our team that there is clarity in what the mission is, and that's to win football games. But that being said, in the day-to-day and more tactical areas of responsibility that we all have as employees of any team. There is a little bit of kind of autonomy between football and business side on how you get things done and how you embody the specific core values that are integral to success in the different roles on either side of the house.
Awesome. That's usually the answer that we get. So it's really cool to hear that, across a bunch of different NFL clubs and organizations that, it isn't separate. Everybody's working together. You talk about working as a team, and that's what you do. Speaking of team, we have a great team here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we have another awesome team member who's involved with this program. So what we do here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we talked about our mission at the beginning, how we want to honor the greatest of the game, preserve its history. So we are a museum. So anytime we do a program like this, we try our best to make sure we include the museum, what we do great here in Canton, Ohio, as part of the program. So with that being said, we got a great team member, Katie, who's out in the museum in front of one of the coolest displays we have here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So Katie, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thanks, Jake. Hi, everybody. Like Jake said, I'm Katie, and I am currently standing in the Pro Football Today gallery, where the game's most current history is recognized. From new jerseys to record-breaking performances, those milestones are all highlighted here. And currently on display, we have jerseys from Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and even Myles Garrett from the Browns. So one of the coolest pieces in this gallery is the display that I'm specifically standing in, which is women in football. Women have had a large impact on the game when it started, but even more so now because there are female trainers, female coaches, female officials, female football leagues, and there are even 10 female owners of NFL franchises. So, Jasmine, my question for you is being a female in a male dominated industry of football, how important have these women been to your career and to all young ladies out there who love the game of football?
I feel so blessed to be in a role as a head of HR for the Indianapolis Colts, who happen to be led by women owners, as well as being represented within a great group of colleagues and coworkers who are also women. In our day-to-day, the fact that I'm a woman hardly makes an impact, but I do recognize that it is still a male-dominated industry in that currently the actual game of football is played by men. But the representation of women in the league is more and more not an anomaly and more normalized. So as Jake said, the combine is happening right now. It happens in a backyard at Indy. And a couple of days ago, I went to participate in the league's women's forum that takes place during the combine. And I heard it said, and it just really struck a chord with me, is at some point in time in the future, the scouting combine will no longer have a day dedicated to highlighting representation of women in the league, because that will just be the norm. And so hats off to everybody that is supportive of understanding that women love the game just as much as men. And we are here representing in whatever capacity that we can bring to the table and the skills that we offer, whether it be back office, front office, or playing the game as a coach or a ref or what have you, that we are making an impact just as much, if not more, than the men who are part of the league, and ensuring that this is a American pastime that's enjoyed by everyone.
Wow, what a fantastic answer. And thank you for that example at the combine too. I feel like you always hear different things like going on, like they said this, they said that, but that's like a true example of the strides that women have made in football and in sports in general. So Jasmine, thank you for being on Before the Snap. It was great talking with you. I enjoyed showing the museum a little bit. And Jake, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie, for that inside look. And Jasmine, I agree. That's an awesome answer. And I'm glad you touched on the combine a little bit because, we've mentioned it. Obviously, it is going on in your backyard. So, can you talk a little bit about, and this, you might have no involvement, but we're going to find out here in a second. What are the things you do as a Colts organization to help make sure the combine happens? Or are you assigned to go do things throughout the week? Or are you just a fan and you get to go check in when it's going on? What are some of the things that the Colts organization does to make sure the combine is successful as it is every year?
So the combine is league driven. So it just happens to be in Indy because our city has an incredible infrastructure to be able to host such an incredibly large event. In fact, I'm just going to shout out my city and my state is we are a very sports-centric state and we do a lot of sports things really well. So the Colts organization itself don't lead any aspect of the scouting combine. That said, it takes place at Lucas Oil, and obviously we have a great relationship with our stadium. And so there is a lot of opportunity to play host or host adjacent type of enhanced activities with activations that might happen that our marketing and events areas might have a more hands-on approach to elevate the fan experience.
Awesome, and it's so cool to see the eyes descend upon Indianapolis every spring as this is kind of the unofficial official kickoff of the NFL season, and it's so cool to get to see college players' dreams realized there in Indy to start their journey to the next part of their story as well. When we read through your bio, you mentioned that part of your job is to make sure you're driving the core values and mission statement of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, it's not the Colts mission statement and values, but our mission statement, our values are something that we hold near and dear to our hearts here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. So, first part of the question is, what is the Colts mission and what are those values you're trying to drive every day in and day out? And two, being involved in the game of football, what are some of the life lessons that you've seen the game of football teach those who play it, coach it, work in it, that they're able to take home with them to make them the best people, best family members, employees that they could be?
So our mission is to entertain, inspire, and unite by winning the right way. What I love about the mission, it was in place before I got here, so I can take zero credit for it. What I love about it is the winning the right way component, because that can be interpreted in a multitude of ways, and there's no wrong answer. It's what do you think winning the right way is? What I love about it is, yes, there's kind of broadness and openness in interpreting the mission statement, but what's not unclear is what we're saying is there's a right way and a wrong way. And for us, the right way is by embodying our core values. And so we currently have 7 of them. There's trust, curiosity, accountability, selflessness, tenacity, courage, and passion. And those core values kind of inform how we do our jobs. A culture is essentially just a fancy term for, hey, how do you do what you do as an organization? How do we as teammates action upon the roles and responsibilities that we are assigned and have responsibility for? And so it's pretty much as simple as that. Is they're just words if there's no action behind them, and collective action as an organization and a team is how you build culture. And so it's not, some warm and fuzzy term, but when you walk into a building, so I have been blessed over the many jobs that I've had over the years to have had a few workplace environments where you walk into the building and you can just feel it. There's positivity in the air. There's energy. There's hope. There's just people are glad to be there. So culture is something that is intangible in the sense that you can feel it, good or bad. And this is certainly a place where the walls kind of rise up to meet the challenge of how can I just be better today, at least 1% than I was yesterday, and being surrounded by teammates that aspire to be the best version of themselves every day by embodying our core values is hugely energizing and makes having passion for your job really easy when the grind is real, right? I said it. It's the G word. When the grind is real and it's peak season and you're really putting in a lot of hours, it makes it all worth it because you're all in the trenches together and you're all working the right way together. And I forgot the last part of your question, but I hope that answered the first part.
Nope, that got it there. The second part of the question is, the game of football, teaches all those values that you just mentioned. So how have you seen that game of football transform the lives of those who are a part of it, whether they work for the Colts, they play for the Colts, or any other thing that you've seen, maybe a community event? What has the game of football, what have you seen it teach those who are involved with it?
Oh my gosh, I can't begin to tell you how emotionally heartwarming it is to see how um, the individuals in this sport who have influence and impact over fans from, babies to seniors, what an impact it makes on their everyday lives and spending just 5 minutes, with a handshake or a hug or a hello. Um, Most of us in this who are blessed enough to be a part of something bigger than ourselves by working for a football team, a sports team, a franchise, we never take for granted that there's potentially only 32 other people that have the role that you do. And with that becomes, in my opinion, a level of responsibility to pay it back and pay it forward. And so trying to uplift others in any way that we can in the roles that we have. Obviously, if you're a quarterback of a team, you're going to have a lot more influence and impact than maybe if you're the head of HR. But I like to think that when given the opportunity, and again, if I had all the time in the world, I would want to spend one-on-one time with every single person that wants to be a part of the horseshoe or wants to be a part of any sports team to try to help them along that path forward. So we don't take for granted that there is a privilege in the positions that we have when there are so many other individuals that want to be a part of the greatness or at least the road to greatness.
I think that's great because it's some of the stuff that we stress here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is that, football is more than just a game. It's more than the X's and O's. And while we love watching that on TV, it's those values, those life lessons that you can take from the game that make you a better person off the field, make you a great employee, make you a great student. And that's something we really like to stress here as part of all of our programming we do here at the Hall of Fame. I know we got some more students questioning in, so I'm going to send it back to Jack here for some more questions from our students.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Question from Michelle here. What type of traits do you look for specifically when hiring somebody for the Colts organization? And what would you say would make them stand out or be successful in the hiring process?
Okay, so it's actually really simple. Specific to our organization, but I can probably say this across most sports teams, is we're looking for, are you going to be a good teammate? And that can look like, a combination of a whole bunch of things because we love diversity in the candidate pool, right? But ultimately, are you going to be a good teammate? The baseline of it is you got to be able to have the core skills to do the job. But beyond that, do you have high character? Are you trustworthy? Do you have a growth mindset? Have you demonstrated that you have a high degree of accountability? It goes back to the 7 core values that I rattled off earlier is, throughout the interview process or as I get to know you as a potential, candidate for a future job is in our interactions, are you exhibiting the embodiment of the core values that we value here at the Horseshoe? And if we don't have a chance to meet in person, how you can relay that is in your resume. Make sure beyond the schooling that you have, that you list all your leadership roles that you might have experienced thus far in your young lives, whether that be, as a shift leader working at Chick-fil-A or with your church or your sorority, fraternity. We'd like to see that little extra step beyond just getting a 4.0. Although 4.0 is fabulous, we like a smart student. That means you're applying yourself. That shows extra effort. So we like to see the skills, but then a little bit more in the resume that shows character and potential. And then it's never a mistake to add a cover letter that brings your resume to life and helps to highlight some of the characteristics that we look for in a great teammate. And I'm going to throw this out here because it is relevant in 2025. It probably was relevant in 23 and 24 as well. But for anybody who's watching this, I want you to know that it's not wrong to leverage AI when you're crafting your cover letter and or resume. But what I also want you to know that those of us that are subject matter experts can spot an AI generated content piece so quickly. And if you do it in a way that's smart, it enhances what you can bring to the table. But we can also tell when you used it as a shortcut. And there's nothing in the game of football, whether it be business or football, that is going to make it okay to take shortcuts.
Well said, Jasmine. I think that's definitely very neat, with the whole AI thing, especially with the way things are going in our society. But like you said, no shortcuts in football. So obviously take the time, to put in the work, hopefully help you land a successful position. All right, Jake, gonna send it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. Jasmine, you make a great point. We went through a process here at the Hall of Fame as we were getting some interns, and you read through some things and you're like, that seems too good. And then you look up and then you search it yourself and you're like, well, yeah, I just made it myself. So while it's a great tool, a great template, you still should have some creativity of your own in there for sure.
100%.
Another one of the questions we like to ask Jasmine is, being a part or working in sports, you get to be a part of a lot of things that not a lot of people get to be a part of. So in your time with the Colts, is there a moment that stands out to you that makes you step back and go, wow, I can't believe I was there, or wow, what a moment that I'll never forget the rest of my life? Or I like to say, you kick back in the lazy boy, retired grandkids are asking you, what was your favorite thing you got to be a part of? What is that moment so far for you?
So two come to mind. So I've been with the Colts organization for 5 years, headed into my 6th season. And regularly, I think back on a couple of events that I can say in this forum that stick with me as I can't believe that was part of my life, because I know that I only got to experience those two things because I was a part of this organization. And the first one is our Germany game last year. As you all know, probably, the expansion of American football across the world is a real thing. It's coming for you. And so this club last year went to Frankfurt, and that was just an incredible experience. I love traveling. I love experiencing cultures of other countries, and it's music to my ears when I hear other languages being spoken. But what I heard about and when I experienced it for myself, it lived up to my expectations, is the passion of German fans for the game of American football was incredible. It was just a regular season game for us, and we won by the skin of our teeth. But the vibes in that stadium felt like a championship Super Bowl game. The engagement of the crowd was just, wow. If you told me that this was a regular season game, I would have looked at you like, are you sure? Can we look at what's at stake? Because this crowd is in it. So completely amazed at the German fans and their enthusiasm for the game, and just being a part of that. It's hard to articulate in words just looking around the stadium and seeing everybody in there as one large football loving family was an incredible experience that I will always remember. Looking back on the good old years. And the other experience that will always stick with me is 2 years ago when I had the privilege of being part of the head coaching hiring process for this organization. We hadn't had longevity in the coach that we had had prior. So in my tenure, there was only one opportunity, and I got to be a part of that experience. And it was such a privilege to be able to, throughout the process, be part of a team that were all locked in on ensuring that we had the best leader that we could possibly find for our club. All the individuals that we interviewed were incredible human beings, first and foremost. And there's a reason why they are head coaches in the NFL. And I just felt blessed and lucky to have even just shook their hands, made eye contact, and sat in the same room as them. When we talk about high character and leadership, head coaches in the NFL certainly do. You feel it when you walk into the room with them.
Awesome. I'm pretty safe to say I think that's the first person we ever had on Before the Snap who helped hire a head coach. So big
Oh,
moment for us here on Before the Snap. Winding down here, Jasmine, we got a few more questions we're going to ask you. But we just wanted to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule here to speak with us, speak to the students, and help them learn a little bit about what it takes to have a career in the NFL. So first part of our last section here, we got some rapid fire questions. So it's going to be simple
okay.
questions. First thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Ready.
All right. LinkedIn, great way to network or just another social media app?
Uh, um, Great way to network, but don't use it as your only means of networking.
Awesome. GPA on a resume, include it or leave it off?
Absolutely included. I love a smart student.
Number 3, social media accounts, public or private?
Oh, um, public unless it's just not your thing, and keep it private. So basically don't change it just because you're looking for work. But keep it tight because it is out there for everybody to see.
All right. Number 4, jeans at work, all day, every day, never,
Oh,
or only on Fridays?
I interrupted you there because I'm like all day, every day. I am queen of comfort. And you can be more dressed up in a pair of jeans than you can with some regular slacks. So there's a time and a place for jeans not to be the best option, but big fan of comfort.
All right. Number 5, coin toss, heads or tails?
Heads.
6, you score a touchdown. What's your go-to touchdown celebration?
Oh, okay. I'm not really that cool, but probably former cheerleader, so I'll do like a cartwheel or a back handspring and hopefully not hurt myself.
Awesome. All right. Final question. If you could describe your job as a flavor of ice cream, what flavor of ice cream is your career?
Oh, so on bad days, Rocky Road. And then on good days, I would say mint chocolate chip because it's refreshing and there's surprises in the bitefuls of chocolate.
Awesome. A great answer. Be honest, Rocky Road's really popular answer for that
Is
question.
it?
Yes. Thank you for that. Last thing we're going to ask here, and it's just a good way we think to send everybody out after the program is completed. We talked talked about a lot of great things today. But if there's one thing that you want to stress, whether if we've talked about already, maybe you haven't talked about it yet, that everybody can leave the program with, if this was the one thing they could remember, what's that last piece of advice, lasting thought you want to talk about today?
So what I will say is don't give up on your dream. But you got to work hard for it. And um, sometimes even getting the job is just the beginning. Excelling in the job is even harder. So if you're listening to this and you're watching this and you haven't even got the job yet, what I'm telling you is to work hard where you are, excel where you are. Make sure that you're building your skill set, make sure you're building your network. And if it comes easy to you, you're probably not trying hard enough, is what I'll say. Is it is a very competitive industry to make it as a long-term career. And if that's what you want, and it's okay not to want that, but if it's what you want, and if you're watching this is probably what you're aspiring to, you really have to understand that there's a lot of hard work involved, because that work also then is paid off by a heck of a lot of fun too. So when I'm trying to scare you by telling you there's a lot of hard work involved, the payoff is an incredible amount of fun and belonging and being a part of something absolutely incredible. And it'll be worth it. But I do want anybody who's listening that's just trying to get their career started in sports, is you got to be willing to work hard and do whatever it takes.
Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Before the Snap series today, featuring the Vice President of People, Culture, and Inclusion for the Indianapolis Colts, Ms. Jasmine Park. Again, Jasmine, thank you so much for being part of the program today, taking time out of your busy schedule, and dropping some knowledge on all the folks we have tuned in today.
Well, thank you both. I had a great time. Good luck with the rest of the season of programming. I think you said I was lucky 106 or 107.
I think up there, yeah, one of those two.
So hopefully those of you that are invested in watching in this series learned something new today. And if not, tune in to the rest of their programming.
Awesome. As always, make sure you tune into everything here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We got some awesome announcements coming up here very soon, so make sure you stay tuned in to all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Same with the Colts. And we'll plug the NFL Combine as well going on there in Indianapolis. Make sure you stayed up to date with all the great news coming out of Indianapolis. We're going to be off here a little bit. We understand we got some testing, some spring breaks coming up here over the next month. So our next program will not be until March 27th. That's going to be with Major Woods, who works in team operations with the Baltimore Ravens. So make sure you tune in for that. And as I said, this game doesn't just take place. There's a lot of work that goes in to making sure the game is as popular as it can be, both on and off the field. And Jasmine, you're a big part of that. So thank you for everything you do for the game of football. Thank you for being part of this program and anything you'll do down the road to help us fulfill our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. We hope to see you next time.